Monday was fair enough. There was not much of rain in Kampala, and would wonder what it was like in your area where you are situated or where you reside or where you do work from. But good morning and welcome to the show. This is UBC TV that you are watching, coming live from Nile Avenue, and this is Good Morning Uganda. Over 800,000 candidates sat for PLE yesterday, day one of the exam papers, and they're expected to continue today, which is the final day of P7 candidates starting their, completing their primary leaving examinations and their primary level of school at that. And on Friday, it will be the briefing for UACE candidates, meaning on Monday, S6 students are also starting their candidate papers. Looking at some of other updates that we have, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan on Monday blamed foreigners for last week's deadly protests following a disputed election in which two main opposition candidates were barred from challenging her bid for another term. A regional African bloc, meanwhile, said on the 29th of October, election had fallen short of its standards for democratic elections. In her first comments after she was sworn in, Hassan acknowledged the loss of lives and asserted that it was not a surprise that those arrested were from other countries. Without giving details, she vowed to unite the country and urged agencies to ensure that normalcy returns. Her swearing-in was held on government-owned grounds in the administrative capital of Dodoma, a departure from her previous inauguration at a packed football stadium as tensions remained high. Looking at another update that we have, New York City's mayoral race is entering its final stretch, with early voting now ended and residents among some 5 million registered voters set to cast their ballots on November 4th to choose the city's next leader. According to the New York City Board of Elections, 7,304,317 early votes have been cast over the past 9 days, and more than quadruple the total of the 2021 mayoral elections. According to the latest Real Clear Politics average, Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani leads with 45.8%, holding a 14.7-point advantage over independent Andrew Cuomo at 31.1% and a 28.5-point lead over Republican Curtis Sliwa at 17.3%. Now, those are some of the updates we do have. If, in case you did not know, Mamdani is a Ugandan as well. And it's one story and a highlight to look into. Now, Robert is already dancing for the fact that Mamdani is in the lead. But allow me introduce the both of us officially to you, especially if you're just joining the show and you've never really watched it. My name is Julie F. Nantaba, and I am with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and together we bring to you Good Morning Uganda. Robert, good morning.
A lovely morning to you. Julie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I think it's going to take some time for me to get used to you looking at me with extra eyes. But the fact, I hope you're correcting, and it's not a permanent situation.
I'm very uncomfortable.
I hope you're just correcting, and after a short while, I'll only look at you with two eyes.
Definitely, definitely. Now, there was a time when Kenyans were jubilating over Obama.
Yes.
And really had nothing.
Yeah.
They tried, they looked for the roots and this. Now, when I see this race, I have something to feel something. Allow me have something to feel something.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know if the Kenyans benefited so much under Obama's leadership, but of course this is not presidency, but at least we are near something to say. That, yes.
I guess so far the excitement is at least Uganda is mentioned somewhere at a high place.
At least where I have some roots. You're not going to have someone say, where is Uganda? Just you look. Just this person grew up there and you're in this country and you're just speaking such things. So that is the country. But of course we've had our curtains raised on different platforms, sports. We've hosted big international conferences here. 2007 we began with CHOGM. So now Uganda is known so very much, but of course anything that still pushes or markets Uganda further We would love that. Now, President Museveni congratulates Samia Suluhu upon her victory. And that is a story that we have this morning. That
I think some of the things that surprised me about the Tanzanian election, the election process really, is how fast things are. Elections are 1 week, swearing in is the following week. I think in Uganda we do take, we elect in maybe January, February, and swearing in is usually in May, or yes, it takes
we do take some
months.
time for Uganda. And that is, of course, them also, I stand to be corrected. If you want to go to court, is it the Electoral Commission, I think, is final? Once they have passed, that is done and dusted. Now, away from that story, of course, candidates today, P7, will be concluding their exams. But please do not do the culture I've seen in some schools over time. There's some hopeless. Would I use that? Because that's not abusive. It's just saying you show a sign of no hope.
Okay.
Where they break their pens, tear the books, you know, scatter the entire compound. There's that act. It doesn't look very good.
Yeah, and I think it depends on how the culture of the school. I'll give you experiences from what I saw in my time of active school. In my primary, nothing like that really happened. The way my primary celebrated candidates was different, very, very different. You'd have movies, you just spend the time at school being pampered, even after PLE. Your parents would drop you at school to just have movies, eat well, eat ice cream, just enjoy the luxury life. And then in high school, what I noticed students would do was to cut the uniform. But the school was against it. And for any student that was caught cutting their uniform or tailoring it to a different pattern away from the school uniform, you'd be punished. Then at university, I noticed that we always had end of semester celebrations. And for every last paper you had after that semester, you would go out and party like there's no tomorrow.
Now, for me,
but I also thank God at the same time, because sometimes at university you're young and your thinking capacity is quite low. You do not think of tomorrow. You do not think about tomorrow.
You know that there is the actual life is after university.
Exactly. So I thank God for protecting us, because some of the things I think about at university and I'm like, God, you're good.
Indeed, it's always good. I remember primary 7, we had a school, but there was also a neighboring school.
Right.
Now, for our school, you could not, I was in boarding, you could not dare do that. But after the last paper, yes, we made a lot of noise, ran around the campus, but the neighboring school, what was happening there? You would see books flying, tearing, pens and all that. So it's not a very good culture. I think we should condemn that. There is life after primary 7, and actually that is when life begins. That you're now going to go out for VAC and see that there is so much. You've been pampered, you're a candidate, now you're back home and you're merely a VACist who has to contribute to the home in all aspects. Or you've been in Kampala, now it's time you're going to go to the village. Or you're going to enjoy your VAC in something very constructive. You're going to begin escorting daddy, escorting mommy to the workplace if they're self-employed, maybe in the market, a carpentry or metal workshop. Now you're going to begin doing something serious. But I also want to urge parents, these children are coming back today, or you're picking them today. Please protect them, most of the girls.
Right.
Protect them. The world is very aggressive. We don't want to see vacists become pregnant. We don't want to see these young boys in this era of a lot of drug abuse, the vacists end up starting taking ice, opium, cocaine. We don't want to see them engage in criminality, then joining groups, you know, these groups of Chifesi, Kakora, B13, what? These are young boys, you know, and once they are brought at police, yeah, I said in senior, in my P7 VAC,
right,
young boys engaging in drugs. So these children are coming back today after P7. It is your time now to work so hard, because they are going to be in community for a longer time than it has been, and you need them to continue with their education.
True story. When Robert uses the word B13, I'm also brought to think that we should monitor what our children watch, because I mean B13 is a movie. But if you tell me that there's a gang
Oh, very
called
dangerous.
B13,
You meet B13?
that means that inspiration was picked from that particular movie, because it's a movie also about gangs. If you watch it, it has a lot
There's
of...
a gang called B13. They range from 13 years to about 17.
Interesting.
If you meet
wow,
them.
that's shocking. So parents, keenly watch what your children are consuming in regards to media. Social media, you're giving them tabs anyhow, but what exactly are they consuming? It's very important that you monitor it to the dot. That being said, let's have a look at what we have on the local scene.
Well, we begin with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has congratulated Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, on her re-election. In a message posted on his official X, called it Twitter account, President Museveni said the victory reflects the confidence the people of Tanzania have in President Samia's leadership and vision. He also extended congratulations to the Tanzania's ruling party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM, for securing another mandate to lead the country. President Museveni noted that Uganda and Tanzania share a long-standing bond of friendship and cooperation, emphasizing his commitment to continue working with President Samia to strengthen bilateral relations. He highlighted key areas of collaboration, including trade, infrastructure development, and regional integration, saying that two nations remain united in their pursuit of peace, prosperity for their nation. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has reiterated that he is the most suitable and competent candidate among those vying for the office of the president in the 2026 general elections. Museveni, while campaigning yesterday evening in Soroti City, stated that leadership isn't about making noise, but rather about ideas and goodwill for the country's development, and thus referring to himself as the best candidate for the job. The NRM presidential candidate Yoweri Museveni campaigned in Soroti City, attracting huge crowds. The NRM party was Monday in Soroti City and colored the entire city, every corner, with yellow, and with excitement as teams joined the Patriotic League of Uganda members. And later to Soroti grounds, here thousands braved the scorching sunshine waiting for the NRM presidential candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. In Soroti, the party chairman was received by the SEC members Anita Anet Among, Calvin Echedu, Richard Todong, Salim Huhuru, Tanga Collins, and Adrian Kobusinje. The gathering brought supporters from Soroti City and Teso. Other speakers, including Speaker Anita Among and Calvin Echedu, highlighted the strong support base of NRM party in Soroti. And with now peace at home, leaders have chosen to vigorously take on development. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution has launched a prosecution handbook on property grabbing crimes in Uganda to enhance the handling of crimes related to land in the country. The Director of Public Prosecution, Lady Justice Jane Francis Abodo, said the handbook will guide prosecutors in effectively managing cases involving land crimes, particularly those vulnerable persons. Land grabbing remains a challenge in Uganda, affecting vulnerable groups, widows, orphans, and illiterates in rural areas. There is loss of lives, displacement, human rights violation, food insecurity, environmental degradation, and breakdown of traditional social cultures. This impact links both civil and criminal offenses, which has prompted the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to develop and launch a handbook to ensure justice for victims. There seems to be a gap in how courts handle criminals and crimes related to land, which delays or denies justice to victims. The head Director of Public Prosecution, Lady Justice Jane Francis Abodo, said the handbook will empower the prosecutors in handling land grabbing cases. So far, widows, orphans, and the vulnerable are at high risk of land grabbing. Head of Land-Related Offences, ODPP, Andrew Oditi, said the handbook will help land-grabbing victims access justice effectively. The ODPP office is currently handling over 8,000 crimes related to land. Bring local stories to an end this morning. Some individuals who had expressed interest in running for presidency in the 2026 general elections but were disqualified by the Electoral Commission have lashed at the Electoral Commission for setting traps that led to their withdrawal from the race. The group has formed an umbrella body, the Alliance for Independent Presidential Aspirants of Uganda, to promote free and fair elections, protecting the votes and combating electoral fraud. The Electoral Commission outlined the roadmap for all electoral processes for which nominations of candidates for parliamentary seats is complete, leaving the aspirants to launch campaigns. Some of the aspirants for the presidential bid who were not nominated by the Electoral Commission claim that they were disqualified deliberately. They alleged that the Commission excluded them from the nomination process that took place between September 2025 on the 23rd and the 24th. This very citing issues related to signatures. They have therefore formed an alliance under the name Alliance for Independent Presidential Aspirants of Uganda to safeguard the electoral process from fraud, manipulation across the country as well. Unlike the previous elections where internet access was disrupted, they revealed that they have developed an offline application to monitor the elections. Despite being unsuccessful in their presidential nominations, some of the aspirants have decided to contest for parliamentary seats. Now, Judy, Alliance for Independent Presidential Aspirants of Uganda. That's an umbrella body that brings together those that wanted to contest but were disqualified by the Electoral Commission on grounds that, well, they couldn't make it to have the signatures, 100 in at least 93 districts. So they are saying, we are here again. And this time, we want a free and fair election. We even developed mechanisms that if the internet is disrupted, we'll be able to monitor politics now.
Well, they say actions speak louder than words, and because Ugandans have been burned a lot by politicians, I am slow to say that the electorate will believe them easily.
In this?
That's why I'm saying that.
Or it's just keeping sailing on the waters,
I'm slow to say that the electorate will buy into this, but time always tells.
If you couldn't push for your own nomination.
But speaking of politics, politics is one space that would always surprise you as to how it operates, and yet it's operating at the end of the day. President Donald Trump is actually supporting, when we go to the mayoral race that is in New York City, President Donald Trump is supporting Andrew Cuomo, who is an independent-leaning Democrat. He lost the primaries to Mamdani, and that's why he is contesting as an independent, and Trump is actually supporting Cuomo. FYI, in this race, there is also a Republican, Curtis Sliwa, that Trump does not believe in at all.
I thought they're the fathers and mothers of democracy, and they have understood these things better.
Oh, well.
That loyalty to parties should go forth. So they still have the challenges we have.
Right, right. Like I said, politics is one game that you'll never understand. One time there's belief in something, and before you know it, that policy is shooting itself in the foot because a leader is leaning on a certain position. Let's look at what we have on the global scene. And of course, we're starting off with this very story. US President Donald Trump has endorsed Andrew Cuomo in the New York City mayor's race, urging voters not to elect left-wing front runner Zoran Mamdani. Quote unquote, whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him, and I hope he does a fantastic job, Trump posted on Truth Social. Now, he is capable of it, Mamdani is not. So says Trump. The tepid endorsement of the former New York governor comes on the eve of the highly watched mayoral election. And on Sunday, the president said he would be reluctant to send federal funding to his hometown of New York if Mamdani is elected. Quote unquote, he says, it's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York, because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there, Trump said in a television interview. Opinion polls indicate Mamdani, the Democratic nominee, is ahead of Cuomo, who is running as independent after Mamdani bested him in the Democratic primary. The Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa, trails behind. Trump, also a Republican, declined to endorse Sliwa in his post, saying a vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani. As interesting as politics. Now let's look at matters Israel. Israeli police have arrested a former military prosecutor after she leaked a video appearing to show soldiers abusing a Palestinian detainee. Major General Yifat Toma Yerushalmi was detained overnight on Monday, according to the country's national security minister, following a scandal that erupted after she leaked a video, resigned and then disappeared. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called the leaking of the video perhaps the most severe public relations attack on Israel since its founding. Reporting from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, Al Jazeera's Noor Odeh said the arrest of Toma Yerushalmi has created a political and legal storm in Israel, noting the spotlight on the leaker has overshadowed attention to the original crime. Now, moving on to the continent, Robert, this is when I say we actually need serious prayers as Africans, because the story seems to be the same. The military commander who has ruled Guinea since a coup 4 years ago has entered the presidential race, breaking an earlier promise to hand power to a civilian government. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya submitted his candidacy at the Supreme Court on Monday, flanked by soldiers and wearing black sunglasses. He did not make any public comment. Two of Guinea's biggest opposition parties, that is RPG, ARC, NCL, and UFDG, have been excluded from December's contest. Now, this has raised concerns about the election's credibility, and Guineans had reacted with shock last month when it was announced that presidential candidates would need to pay a deposit of 875 million Guinean francs, that's about $100,000, to contest the election, while the previous deposit was almost as high as 800 million francs. Some analysts had hoped it would be reduced to encourage more people to stand in these historic elections. Well, that story brings us to the end of what we have on the foreign scene. The story seems to repeat itself on the continent.
I think what's very important for Africa is peace. Now, if someone took a coup, has run the government, and they're going in an election, and he submits himself to the people, personally, I wouldn't see that as a problem, because he submitted himself to the people to decide amongst other candidates. If it's their choice, well, he will be elected. If it's not their choice, I don't know if he can again revert to the army and serve the army as well. Their constitution, I'm not well versed with it. But where I would find a problem is where someone takes on a government illegally, or where someone has submitted themselves. I'll give an example here in Uganda. When the NRM came into power as guerrillas, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni submitted himself after some time to an electoral process. And we voted. He's been the people's choice over and over. So as long as there is peace in that country, you know, sometimes this foreign democracy we inherited, where even them sometimes they don't understand it properly. Now look at Trump. You know, if you belong to a particular political party, it has a candidate, this person was defeated, how then do you go and support? So even them, the democracy, the masters of democracy, these challenges come to them. Yet we say America has had democracy for a very long time. What about Africa? I think it is time Africa, we tailor-make our own democracy that suits us and pushes development and peace for this great continent.
And the question would be, do we even know what's really suitable for us, tailored for us? Because I'm not so sure if there are those of the old who are not part of the democratic process that we follow, that are able to provide information of what it was like before colonial eras. It was obviously monarchical.
Unfortunately,
now, if you look at monarchical versus what was introduced to us as democracy, I wonder how we're supposed to find ourselves.
We shall tailor-make what is ours. My only sad story is that I lost one of the person I was studying very, very well, and that was the late president of Libya, Colonel Mama Gaddafi.
Yes,
I was studying this person. I loved Gaddafi so much. I loved his approach and vision for Africa. I loved how he had transformed his country. But unfortunately, when we lost such, now, because he had something for Africa. He had a vision for Africa, where Africa would have democracy tailor-made for it. That yes, this issue of this, that, no. What do, as a country, what do we need at that particular time? You see, even the USA, much as the people go to the votes, to the polls and vote, electoral colleges decide, there's a team of people who decide for what is the interest of America at that particular time. They bring a candidate. If they need to go to war, they know who will come. If they want peace, they know who they will front. So why can't we Africans tailor-make what is ours?
Right, let's quickly sift through what we have in the papers.
Oh, the papers this morning. I begin with a new vision where licensing regime intended to protect savers' funds. Now, SACCOs ordered to register with Bank of Uganda. And we have Museveni campaigns in Soroti and Selere. Then Museveni orders probe into Nakivubo floods, for sure. People lost their destiny. And we have something to do with the chimp. Wildlife there mourning now. Renzori attackers coordinator witch doctor netted. Very good story there. If he has been netted, how do you deceive people and smear them with certain things and take them to attacker barracks? Now, our traders sue Ham, KCCA over floods. And Samia Suluhu gets her instruments of power. That is in the Daily Monitor this morning. Yes, Samia Suluhu there gets her instruments of power. Why ex-Swatini envoy Bamwine is in hot soup. And we have death toll from Renzori Panga attack rises to 30. And UPDF soldier kills boss, 3 others in DRC Borough. Now the lizard has something to say there. And of course, allow me end papers at this. Well, Julie will take us through what Tanzania and Kenya maybe have.
Well, I will focus on Kenya, buried alive. That's the headline there. Tragedy, death toll rises to 30 as state reveals 14 learners amongst the victims. Well, it's a story on disaster for residents of some villages in Hili, Elgeyo Marakwet County. The events of the last 4 days are straight out of a horror movie. One moment they're full of life, sharing evening meals before going to bed, and the next they lie either lifeless or injured under heaps of soil and huge rocks. Their homes swallowed by the ground or pounded flat. And Samia sworn into office in a private ceremony. That's what the Daily Nation has for you. More of that. Obviously, get yourself a copy of any of the papers for more of the information. For now, let's have a short break. When we get back, we're having a conversation on the floods that affected the traders downtown Kampala. 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should save and engage in this conversation. Good morning.
KBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to you on this Tuesday morning. Thank God there were no heavy rains to disrupt the morning movement and the start of a new day. Even Monday was fair enough. There was not much of rain in Kampala, and would wonder what it was like in your area where you are situated or where you reside or where you do work from. But good morning and welcome to the show. This is UBC TV that you are watching, coming live from Nile Avenue, and this is Good Morning Uganda. Over 800,000 candidates sat for PLE yesterday, day one of the exam papers, and they're expected to continue today, which is the final day of P7 candidates starting their, completing their primary leaving examinations and their primary level of school at that. And on Friday, it will be the briefing for UACE candidates, meaning on Monday, S6 students are also starting their candidate papers. Looking at some of other updates that we have, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan on Monday blamed foreigners for last week's deadly protests following a disputed election in which two main opposition candidates were barred from challenging her bid for another term. A regional African bloc, meanwhile, said on the 29th of October, election had fallen short of its standards for democratic elections. In her first comments after she was sworn in, Hassan acknowledged the loss of lives and asserted that it was not a surprise that those arrested were from other countries. Without giving details, she vowed to unite the country and urged agencies to ensure that normalcy returns. Her swearing in was held on government-owned grounds in the administrative capital of Dodoma, a departure from her previous inauguration at a packed football stadium as tensions remained high. Looking at another update that we have, New York City's mayoral race is entering its final stretch, with early voting now ended and residents among some 5 million registered voters set to cast their ballots on November 4th to choose the city's next leader. According to the New York City Board of Elections, 7,304,317 early votes have been cast over the past 9 days, and more than quadruple the total of the 2021 mayoral elections. According to the latest Real Clear Politics average, Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani leads with 45.8%, holding a 14.7 point advantage over independent Andrew Cuomo at 31.1% and a 28.5 point lead over Republican Curtis Sliwa at 17.3%. Now, those are some of the updates we do have. If, in case you did not know, Mamdani is a Ugandan as well. And
Scooby Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the MyMTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Following our earlier communication regarding the technical challenge that affected the transmission of some free-to-air television channels, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation UBC wishes to provide the public with an update on the ongoing restoration efforts. Our engineering and technical teams have been working diligently to resolve the issue and restore normal transmission. While substantial progress has been made, the process has taken longer than initially anticipated due to the complexity of the fault. We assure our valued viewers and partners that full restoration remains our top priority, and every necessary measure is being taken to ensure a stable and reliable signal across all affected platforms. In the meantime, we kindly advise viewers to rescan their TV sets to access the available channels. This will ensure that you can view the channels that are currently broadcasting without interruption. UBC sincerely apologizes for the inconvenience this disruption has caused and appreciates the continued patience and understanding of our audiences as we finalize the recovery process. Further updates will be provided through our official communication channels as progress continues. For additional information, please contact Public Relations Office, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC. Email info@ubc.go.ug or +256 703 826 623.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning. Eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Julie F. Nantaba. Let's first have a look at what the campaign trail looks like. Who will be the next president of Uganda? Today, the 4th of November, looking at the candidates, 8 of them that are contesting, candidate Yoweri Kaguta Museveni will be in Kumi and Ngora campaigning on behalf of the NRM ticket, and candidate Kasibante Robert will be in Busia and Luka campaigning on behalf of NPP. Mujisha Gregory Muntu will be in Omoro and Oyam districts campaigning for and on behalf of the AN ticket, and candidate Chagulanyi Robert representing the NUP party will be in Kazolia, Ntonde and Sembabule. Now moving on, candidate Nandala Nathan Mafabi will be in Budaka, Chibuku as well, and that is on behalf of the FDC ticket, and candidate Munyagwa Mubarak will be in Chotera and Ruwengo on behalf of CMP. And candidate Bolira Frank will be in Kasese representing the RPP. And finally, candidate Mabidizi Joseph will be in Palisa representing CP. Who will be the next president of Uganda? Pay attention to what they campaign and vote as an informed voter, not as one who's voting based on emotions. Welcome to the show once again. Now it's time for The Real, and this morning we are looking at the recent floods that took shape in Kampala CBD and affected traders. Now last week welcomed these rains, And as November started, in the old or in the past, November was known to be a month of rains, yes, but with grasshoppers at well. And it came with a connotation, especially if you listen to the older folks, the older generation as they speak. They had a statement, they always made that statement, oh, kanakakuba kamsenene, but with a bit of joy. The rain showing signs of joy whilst planting, being rest assured of a beautiful harvest, and of course enjoying the grasshoppers, as is always the season. But this time round, last week, the story was different, especially not only for those in the eastern part of Uganda, but more shockingly for those in Kampala city, especially in the central business district, as Kampala flooded, so much so that it flooded in a very unprecedented manner, and it saw shops flood and merchandise get soaked in water that was damaging to lots and lots of businesses, with billions and billions and billions of merchandise lost and soaked in water. Now, in studio, joining us is Thaddeus Musoke, who is the national chairperson of the National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association, to have this conversation with us. 0709-602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should engage and be part of this conversation. Good morning, Thaddeus.
Good morning, Julie.
Always a pleasure having you.
We are so happy for this opportunity.
Right. Now, for one who's not part of the traders community, yes, we've seen the story, we follow the stories on camera, on the news. In fact, we use downtown quite a lot. So we've seen, it's heartbreaking, but paint the picture of how much this effect has caused, what it's like, what is on the traders' minds, especially you being part of the community.
Okay, thank you very much. For the meantime, I think that like the traders are confused because it was unexpected. And you know, in business, there are what we call unforeseen incidences. It's so unfortunate that our comrades lost billions and billions. And by the way, it's affecting everyone, because the business community, in one way or the other, also coordinates with other sectors. So currently you find that also we have to engage the Uganda Bankers Association because, you know, we operate using loans. Also, we are going to write to the landlords because now someone cannot pay. So another thing that we have suppliers. Who we need to find that we find other mediation channels. And at times, we know when such instances happen, also you find some people who are not so right. They try to utilize such an opportunity sometimes to cheat their colleagues.
Right.
So totally what is happening downtown is bad news. That's what I can say. And by the way, you find that even the motions, like what happened yesterday, you saw what happened on Friday, traders demonstrating, and then unfortunately they were attacked. And then leave that alone. Yesterday, the Lord Mayor chaired a special urgent meeting where all trade associations were invited, and almost all the traders were represented, most of the arcades. And you find even the way the traders were expressing their concerns, it was so touching. It was so touching that someone is really pressed in the corner, that he doesn't have an alternative. He doesn't know where to start from. People have totally been confused. Even some were rushed to hospital because they could not believe what happened. So it's so unfortunate. But on a certain level, I'm seeing that, yes, the KCCA administration has tried to intervene. But maybe, you know, it may be like not timely, but it has tried to intervene. The engineers were on ground. That's what the report which they gave us yesterday. And then that the management for KCCA had a special meeting also. And also the council, you saw what happened. The council accusing each other.
Yes.
And also for us, we are given that opportunity to talk. And also we're expecting another meeting today from the Prime Minister's office. When we are discussing with the Minister for Kampala, Honorable Mr. Kabanda, she promised that they are going also to engage Cabinet yesterday. We haven't got feedback, but I'm sure also the Cabinet discussed. Yesterday night we are receiving several calls to see how can the government intervene. So we are coordinating as association, since there are so many trading associations now here in Kampala, to see that how do we put our differences aside and we dialogue to make sure there is a common cause which brings us together. Because the trader is not interested in different association. The trader is interested in finding possible interventions, possible solutions to stay here, to keep him afloat. To stay in Kampala, you know there is a saying, Siva mu Kampala. Because you know Kampala, you can try to survive. And going back to the village, sometimes people find village life so not comfortable. Right. So you find that as the good thing that the trading community now, they are coming together. They are finding possible solutions. There are comrades who have gone to court to see that which avenue can the trader be assisted? How can the trader be compensated? But even what we agreed yesterday, that every arcade is going to be represented. Because there are so many associations, what KCCA administration decided to do, that let the director for humanity handle that. Handle that, and to make sure that every arcade there are two representatives, to make sure genuine traders who were affected are represented, so that the whole system or process is fair and transparent.
Right, thank you very much. Now, the KCCA engaged with police to help the situation at the time the rains were pouring and the flooding had started. But when Madam Sharifa Buzeki got on ground, she realized that nothing much perhaps was done. What do you think could have been done by police with KCCA that was missed and it could have saved the situation?
I think our responses to disaster is not timely, because you find the Fire Brigade Department, the headquarters are so near.
Very near.
Very near. But the response was a little bit reluctant. It wasn't that positive. And even the deployment, I think also they are caught unaware, off guard. That's what I can say. But we need to improve, because you find that when you see the scenes there, you feel like crying. People using buckets to make sure that they empty their arcades. And also our concern is because as NETA Uganda, we were instructed urgently, our Secretary General, to make sure that all relevant offices are contacted in coordination with other business associations, like FUTA, like CAFO, like UTEA, like CASITA, to make sure that we come up with that one voice. And what we have discovered, that I think even they lied to the RCC, because like KCCA should be having that response team, an independent disaster response team. I hear that even Uganda Water came in to assist, but also they would have deployed pressure pumps to empty the arcades. And also our interest was, how can we avoid the occurrence of such an incident? Because you find that we started engaging KCCA way back when I was still the chairman of CASITA. When, no, even by then I was the secretary of CASITA. I think by that time the chairman was Everest Kayondo. When they started to construct the non-motorized road, funded, I think it was funded by the World Bank. And the essence was to make sure they create special pathways for pedestrians and leave that alone, that to make sure that there is a more conducive environment, that they plant trees to clean our oxygen, that you know that the atmosphere here in the CBA is not clear. So, and also, but after that construction, some arcades started flooding. And when I contacted the landlords, they told me that there are some channels which were blocked, I think in the construction. But also when I was trying to make sure that we try to follow up the construction which is ongoing around Kampala, we discovered that even the tunnels were small. The manholes which were used were small before then. So I think by that time as Kasita we had resolved to get an independent consultant to come out with an independent report. The same applies what I was discussing with my colleagues, that when KCCA, already which has been taken to court by some traders, is the one carrying out the investigation, and it will avail us with the report. You never know, the report may try to be biased a little bit to defend themselves. But I think there was some reluctance with the engineering department for KCCA. And also, when you contract the harm administration, they claim that no, they are not the root causes. But the fact is, before the construction or the redevelopment of Nachivubo Channel, the flooding wasn't like this.
Yes.
So when you compare notes, there may be something wrong with the redevelopment or beautification. So we need to bring stakeholders all on board to make sure there is a genuine report. But also remember, during the regime of Jennifer Mosisi, she had issued a notice where all landlords who had altered the approved plans, because you find most of the arcades, basements were supposed to be parking slots. Unfortunately, they were converted or transformed into shops. And basing what we are hearing, that even they blocked some tunnels, which were outlets, which are supposed to release that water from the basements, because they wanted to maximize profits by availing shop spaces or rent spaces. So also that should be revisited. If an arcade basement was supposed to be a parking, what happened? So there is no way also I can blame my colleagues who went to court, because that is clear that if you alter the approved plan, that is illegal. And you find that all the traders which were affected, who were affected, they were mainly in basements.
And if you talk about altering, the same KCCA offers licenses for these traders to operate, even when they know that they are operating in basements.
So those are the loopholes. I think the comrades who went to court, when they contacted their legal advisors, they are going to utilize such loopholes.
You are watching UBC TV, and on your screen right now is footage of what transpired in Kampala just a few days back. Businesses have been lost. Watching those clips or going to downtown yourself, your heart can really sink seeing what has transpired, especially for those whose merchandise has been dumped and soaked. Look at that. That is a building with water flooded. I remember watching a clip where water had risen. The water level was as high as almost the top of an entrance to a shop. Sad indeed. And in studio with us is Thaddeus Musoke, chairman of the National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association. He's speaking with us regarding the Kampala City traders tragedy that they're facing as regards to the floods. What is the way forward after these city floods? What is NITA doing? What has NITA done thus far since the incident, unfortunate incident occurred?
For us, what we have done is like I told you. First of all, we had to contact we had to petition all relevant officers, starting from KCCA Lord Mayor, the ED, and also the Prime Minister and the Minister of Kampala. And we have been trying to engage, first of all the affected traders, and that coordination with all the chairpersons or leadership of different traders associations. I told you there are more than 4 traders associations. So to make sure that we work as a team. So you know, when you work as a team, you are stronger. And by the way, it helps us to formulate possible interventions. And also we have petitioned His Excellency to see how can the traders be compensated. And also, like I told you, KCCA has a lot which has to do to make sure that we avoid the occurrences. Because, you know, like you stated first, that November is a rainy season. And given the fact that, yes, we may be now currently engaging the government, but we cannot stop the rain. And we need to make sure that now, how do we protect our comrades who are not affected? Secondly, there should be further investigation to make sure how safe are these buildings. Just see the arcades. Now, water, when there is electricity, you know, it's suicidal. How safe are our traders? So even KCC, how comes it avails occupation permits to these landlords? Are there corrupt tendencies? How comes that all these were unforeseen? How can we save the trader who lost billions and billions? And our focus was, first of all, are there possible avenues where we can save some stock? Because traders were desperate to make sure that how do you save this stock? And by the way, the perception in the trading community, they know that Uganda's government is a little bit reluctant in compensations. We had scenarios in Kenya where our members lost commodity worth billions. We had another scenario in South Sudan where our members lost billions and few were compensated. So a trader cannot wait until these processes are done. Some may be excited, thinking that the government, the response will be so effective and immediate. But also we as the traders were saying, this time, can the government change its approach towards the challenges of the traders? Because we need timely interventions. We are happy that also the Minister for Kampala has come in, but also it's a little bit tricky. This is a political year. So everyone is trying, even last night we had an online meeting and we said, now you see, won't also politics confuse the traders? Can you believe that even now, their comrades are saying, no, let us demonstrate. But can the demonstration currently save the situation? Can't we find other possible avenues where we can strongly engage government, where we can pressurize them to make sure, first of all, we avoid the occurrence of flooding in the city? And also, if possible, can Harms Engineer coordinate with KCCA Engineering Department and the Ministry of Works? We need to put Ministry of Works on board, because already you find there are issues with KCCA. There is a lot of negligence. When I was listening to the Minister of Kampala, she was referring to the former leaders of KCCA. But also, when she was put in authority, what intervention did she do? So, for the meantime, we could avoid the blaming game. And we find that, how do we save the situation? I'm telling you, the buildings also, I'm thinking they are not safe. Yesterday, I heard some of the traders saying that even as they try to empty the arcade, water is still flowing in. So is that building safe? So I think the technical team this time should do its mandate, exercise its mandate effectively.
Right. Well, 10th August last year, 2024, the landfill in Chitezi. Indeed, you saw what happened. This year, in the month of November, well, actually end of October into the month of November, we've seen what has happened with the floods in Kampala affecting the central business district. Now, I would say that KCCA is being put to the test for this period over all of these issues. The Daily Monitor has a headline, Traders Sue Harm, KCCA over floods. Let me engage some of your comments as we begin to close this conversation. And someone comes through and says, good morning. I'd like to know the updates of the appealed list of loan schemes. Interesting. Good morning, Uganda. Odara Vincent from Tororo. What the traders are facing is so sad. The losses are so huge. I just pray that the KCCA addresses the problems that the traders are facing and find a way forward to avoid further occurrence of floods. And finally, good morning, Julie and Thaddeus. I'm Cricket Derek Gagamel, as usual. First of all, I start by consoling all traders who lost their properties in that incident. We understand the pain because most of their businesses operate on loans and still some put their businesses as collateral. It's such a confusing moment. The primary solution is the government to come up and quickly offer a genuine relief to everyone who was affected. Maybe I appeal to them to be vigilant about politicians who are willing to play politics at the expense of their losses, but compassion is needed immediately and a permanent solution on the flooding. Good morning, Uganda. Netherlands, Brooklyn, Leo Brazen. But Uganda traders are the eyes of Uganda's revenue. They operate in loans in their businesses. They need to be helped. Development is good, but proper planning has to be on the ground. We are watching. Let the government help them. And good morning, Uganda. I'm Kimaleni Michael, watching you live from Bududa District. I remember very well Lord Mayor Lukwago used to warn those people when they were constructing, but they didn't listen to him because he was on the side of the opposition. Thank you so much for your comments. Thaddeus Musoke is the one we're having in studio, and he is the chairperson of the National Entrepreneurs and Traders Association, NETA, and he's speaking into this particular matter. What are your parting shots?
I want to, first of all, to reaffirm our position that we urgently need government intervention. Secondly, that comrades, currently the stress levels are uncontrollable. Please watch your neighbor. You know, you have to watch your neighbor. We are getting so many concerns from the traders. I'm happy some of them were consoling their colleagues because it's a very tricky moment.
It is.
And also for the banks, please, you know, the banks have those funny tendencies. Now, like for this unforeseen already, we have the charges insurance, but there are some funny concerns there, that side. But also we have to appeal for special consideration. We are going to write to the Bankers Association, like I said, to the landlords to make sure that at least they can have some breather until they harmonize their operations, because currently there are no operations which are ongoing. And also to the landlords, let us make sure that we modify some buildings, because also there are some issues with the way they constructed. And KCCA, we need to have that vibrant committee instituted where stakeholders are represented. Yes, there should be a committee for compensation, but also there should be another special committee which can revisit and revise those reports which are done. And also currently, you know, I'm also the president of Kampala Development Forum, which where stakeholders are represented with the KCCA authorities. We are going also to have an urgent meeting to make sure that the concerns of stakeholders of the city can also be raised and resolutions made, because our resolutions are highly valued by the World Bank. Where possible, also we can carry out resolutions, stop the reconstruction or modification of Nachivubo Channel, because now all the perception of the traders now are saying harm has killed our businesses. Harm. So there is no way now you can change. And I pity harm because he's also a businessman. Also, you need to issue at least a statement.
Yes, if anything, part of his
which can
was
at
affected.
least comfort our traders. But in a special way, I want to thank management and you and the producers for this opportunity. always there is a way you select touching topics which impact the population.
Right.
May the Almighty God bless you.
Thank you. UBC TV always here to inspire you. Good morning, Uganda. Up next is JMU Tourism Express. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules, plant extract, scientific ratio, take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day, don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Following our earlier communication regarding the technical challenge that affected the transmission of some free-to-air television channels, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation UBC wishes to provide the public with an update on the ongoing restoration efforts. Our engineering and technical teams have been working diligently to resolve the issue and restore normal transmission. While substantial progress has been made, the process has taken longer than initially anticipated due to the complexity of the fault. We assure our valued viewers and partners that full restoration remains our top priority and every necessary measure is being taken to ensure a stable and reliable signal across all affected platforms. In the meantime, we kindly advise viewers to rescan their TV sets to access the available channels. This will ensure that you can view the channels that are currently broadcasting without interruption. UBC sincerely apologizes for the inconvenience this disruption has caused and appreciates the continued patience and understanding of our audiences as we finalize the recovery process. Further updates will be provided through our official communication channels as progress continues. For additional information, please contact Public Relations Office, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation UBC, email info@ubc.go.ug or +256 703 826 623.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
We are still at Immaculate Heart Girls School, Nyachibale, and we are within the school museum. In this segment, we are going to be talking about what more you have to find in the school museum. Welcome on the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express, and my name is Zakia Lucky. I have seen quite familiar items like we did see at Brims. Back then, I'm getting to find a gramophone here, which is quite different from what I saw there. Typewriters, the monitor, but we are yet to understand how these are getting to exist in here. And I think it's a very good thing for a school to store this because students are getting a chance to learn about these, unlike us who got to know about this probably in the field, and there is someone else like you who has not even had a chance to see these or even get to know how they operate. It's not just about those artifacts, but we have also other items that do represent cultures and also some of the artworks that these students get to So stick around as we get to interview one of the students that is going to tell us about these items.
My name is Agava Esther, the President UNESCO Club Immaculate Heart, and I will be taking you through this cultural segment of our museum. So here we have very many artifacts. This is called, okay, in English it's the mota and the pesto, but then in our language it's called the shekuro. This is where we form some of the flour that we use for cooking. Then here we have the containers. They can be used for soup, for example, stew, and they can also be used to hold cow ghee or what we call a shabwe. Then here we have the traditional baskets. Okay, they are for holding meals, let's say the traditional karo. They are called endiro. Then here, this part, we're trying to depict the segment of hunting. So here we have one of the horns that were gotten from the hunted animals. And here we have the ankle bells. These ones, they are either tied on the dogs while hunting so that they can be able to find the animals that are in hiding. And then they're also tied on the cows, but you cannot tie them on the cows unless they are over 100 in number. So you tie them on the cows for easy identification. Then these are the remains of a buffalo that was hunted. So in this part, we're trying to talk about how hunting was done in the old days. And so these are the materials that were used. Then when we come to this sector, we're trying to depict the Chichiga culture. So here we have one of these calabashes, and they're used for holding the traditional drinks, for example, omuramba, entudire, and oshera. Then we also have entara. This is for winnowing, let's say sorghum or millet. Then here we have the straw hats. In the Hima and Ankole culture, whenever they used to go to graze, there would be a lot of sunshine, okay? So they made these hats out of straw from the swamp, and then they would put them on their heads just like this, so that the direct sunlight, the direct heat does not affect them. So these are the straw hats. Then this place, we're trying to depict the technology of Immaculate Heart. So this is a gramophone, and it is a musical artifact. But one of the main reasons as to why we brought it into this school, into this museum, is because it was given to us by the late Mr. Ntakarima Zemaiko, who started up the founder of this museum. So it was put here as a monument because of him. Then as the school started in 1969, the technology that we used to use for, let's say, reports or examinations, we had these typewriters. So as per now, they are not in use because there has been a new technology evolving, and right now we are using these keyboards and even the laptops. So on this part, we are trying to depict the evolution, right, of technology in Immaculate Heart. Then also as the school started, we had these kinds of radios. As per now, I don't think they are really very common, because now we can even use the ones that are on phone or on laptops or whatsoever, even the internet. And here we use these monitors, but as per now we have evolved, but we want to keep them here in the museum so that we can keep closer to our roots and remind ourselves where we came from. Then here we have a display of the telephone evolution in Immaculate Heart. So we started from this sector going forth, and as per now we use the payphones and the smartphones. So we wanted to keep them here, okay, to carry on the culture, so that even as the next generation comes, they will be able to continue using them.
These were used in school?
Yes. Yeah, right. So these plates, they were used a very long time ago. So in the previous year, okay, in the old years before colonialism, even these plates were not there. They came from the white world, okay? So before, they used to use banana fibers to hold their food instead of these plates, but when the whites came, they brought these plates. So right here we have these are the metallic ones. First we were using banana fibers, then we went to the metallic ones, then after that we evolved now to the ceramics. So here, down this side, we have the projects of the new curriculum students in Immaculate Heart, and here they are using bottle tops for to show environmental conservation. So even here, they use the bottle tops. So we are trying to show that we do not need to dispose these things badly, okay? We can use them for something very profitable. Even these are also projects, the bottles. So basically, that's what we're trying to talk about. Then this side, at the back, here is the sector for music, dance, and drama. So Immaculate Heart being a multicultural society, all these instruments are not only for one culture. For example, this adungu and this one, they're from the eastern side of Uganda, and they are used for music. So Immaculate Heart, having all these cultures, okay, we are trying to show that we embrace all of them. So we use them in music, dance, and drama. We use them on Culture Day. We use them on every other occasion that we get a chance to use them. So here, we have the akogos, or what we could call the thumb pianos, and they're also part of the music instruments that evolved from the East. Then here, we have the engalabi, it's a long drum from Buganda, and then we have the shakers, we have the panpipes, and we have the tube fiddles. So this part of music, dance, and drama, we're trying to show that as Immaculate Heart, we embrace all these cultures. So here, we have an ancestral stool. So on this stool, this is, okay, around here, there is always a hide that it is circular, okay? So that circular motion signifies that the reign of this person who is being given headship in the family, it has to continue, okay? So this traditional four-legged stool, number one, it is only used by the heir, and the heir is given authority, headship, especially when the head of the family has died. So to show that the reign will continue, they choose an heir from the sons and the daughters. So this hide that we see around here, as you can see, it is circular in shape. So this circular motion signifies the fact that they want the rain to continue. They want it to continue flowing, so that even when this person passes away, the next person will carry on the mantle and the rain will continue forever. Then this shield, when the heir is given this shield, he's supposed to use it for protection. It is a symbol of protection and authority, so that if anything whatsoever happens to the family, he'll be able to protect. Then the spear, it is first of all a symbol of bravery. So when you hold it like this, it's supposed to be held from the middle, and when this part is facing the people, that means it is signifying peace. But if you put the sharp side this side instead, that means we are trying to show that we are trying to fight the enemy. But in this case, we are just bringing the air, okay? So when you hold this spear, it shows that you are brave and that you have been chosen as the heir. So these are symbols of power that are given to the heir. Also, there is this one, and most times, in most occasions, it was used during grazing, so that okay, when they are taking the cows back home. So it is also, in some cases, believed to be a protection symbol from any other superstitious practices. So it is also given to the heir, and words of majesty, okay, proclamations are said upon this heir before he is given the role.
Okay, Esther actually makes a very good tour guide, and she's also the president of UNESCO, but then I'm wondering what UNESCO is and how she got to learn all of these things that she's been taking us through. Maybe you could tell us.
Thank you so much. UNESCO in full is United Nations Education, Scientific and Culture Organization, and I've been in this club since my senior 1. So in senior 5, I was elected the president, and UNESCO, one of the parts being in charge of culture in Immaculate Heart, we are in charge of the Culture Day that always takes place on Women's Day. Then we're also in charge of the museum. Okay, even the founder of this museum, the late Mr. Ntakarima Michael, and teacher Salome, they were they're the ones who made this museum. So the way I got to learn about all this stuff, obviously in this generation we do not have much of this information, but when I came to Immaculate Heart, I was very exposed to all this stuff. You know, there is MDD, there is Culture Day, there is sports and games, and so I got to learn each and everything that you see here, and I got to also find a way to make them useful. So UNESCO is in charge of the museum, and we would like to pass on a message to the youth out there that they should try to keep closer to their roots. You know, they should not let this culture fade away. So basically that's what UNESCO does, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Amazing. You should stay closer to your roots, and well done, the late Takari Mazi, who was actually our entertainment minister, and Madame Salome back then, because it is you that have made this generation get a chance, especially in the Immaculate Heart community, to learn about these things. There are so many out there that have missed out on this one, that we have schools that probably don't have this, and that is how you're losing out on your roots. So we are still coming in again for another segment. Stick around as we continue to explore the artifacts and the culture in Immaculate Heart Girls' School.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Good morning. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. Welcome back from JMU Tourism Express. Time for business. My name is Julie F. Nantaba, and President Yoweri Museveni has released accounts for border SACCOs in Kampala and Wakiso districts as part of the government's broader effort to promote financial inclusion and economic empowerment among riders. The announcement was made by State House Controller Jen Bareche during a meeting with leaders of 102 border SACCOs at Kololo Independence Grounds. Bareche said that the president's move streamlines financial operations, improves transparency, and ensures that riders directly benefit from government programs. She urged SACCO leaders to embrace accountability and unity. Head of the police directorate in charge of the political and ghetto affairs commended the riders for maintaining order and discipline, urging them to use the SACCO to uplift their welfare. He emphasized that the cooperation with security agencies would help the daily operations. The leaders thanked President Museveni for the support. He pledged that the border community would remain committed to development, peace, and responsible service. Now on to matters. Traders, a group of traders in Kampala has filed a lawsuit against the Kampala City Authority, the National Environment Management Authority, and businessman Hamis Chigundu. The traders are seeking compensation for losses incurred after heavy rains recently flooded their shops, destroying merchandise and disrupting business operations. The traders have also asked the High Court in Kampala to issue an injunction halting ongoing construction works on the Nachivubo drainage channel. They argue that the project's poor planning and execution worsened flooding in the city, leaving their businesses submerged and causing financial losses. Well, with those two stories, let's have a look at how the forex rates stand as of the third day of November 2025. The dollar opened at 3,472.91 buying and was selling at 3,482.91. By midday, it had increased to 3,473.91 and selling at 3,483.91. and by close of day it had increased to 3,474.05 and selling at 3,484.05. The British pound was buying at 4,566.11 and selling at 4,579.26. And the euro was buying at 4,007.83 and selling at 4,019.37. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 26.87 and selling at 26.95. And the Tanzanian shilling maintained the 1.41 and selling at the same. The South African rand was buying at 200.80 and selling at 201.83. Well, that's it from the business desk. Up next is the agenda, and we are talking matters AI. You cannot avoid this one because AI is here and it's part of us. So how about you actually embrace the conversation to learn and relearn? 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should save and ask those questions. Good morning. In just a bit.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo,
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Following our earlier communication regarding the technical challenge that affected the transmission of some free-to-air television channels, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation UBC wishes to provide the public with an update on the ongoing restoration efforts. Our engineering and technical teams have been working diligently to resolve the issue and restore normal transmission. While substantial progress has been made, the process has taken longer than initially anticipated due to the complexity of the fault. We assure our valued viewers and partners that full restoration remains our top priority and every necessary measure is being taken to ensure a stable and reliable signal across all affected platforms. In the meantime, we kindly advise viewers to rescan their TV sets to access the available channels. This will ensure that you can view the channels that are currently broadcasting without interruption. UBC sincerely apologizes for the inconvenience this disruption has caused and appreciates the continued patience and understanding of our audiences as we finalize the recovery process. Further updates will be provided through our official communication channels as progress continues. For additional information, please contact Public Relations Office, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation UBC. Email info@ubc.go.ug or +256 703 826 623.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning. Eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Genshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Well, good morning and welcome if you are just joining us. But if you started the show right from the very beginning, thank you so much. Giving us your time means a lot. If you found us along the way, you are welcome, and thank you so much for choosing UBC TV. If you are just tuning in, thank you so much for still choosing UBC TV and giving us your time and your attention. Always an honor to inspire you. We come to you live from the Nile Avenue, and it's time for the agenda on Good Morning Uganda. My name is Julie F. Nantaba. Like I mentioned earlier, 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should save and engage in this conversation that we are having. Now, there is a common meme on the internet that your future doctor is actually using ChatGPT to pass med school. So you might as well start eating healthier. But let's look into AI. Let's have a conversation on this. And to have that conversation with us is Dr. Rose Nakasi, lecturer at the College of Computing, Makerere University, and head of the Makerere University AI Health Club, as well as co-chair for the second annual AI in Health Africa conference that is taking place soon in just a few days. The theme is setting AI for sustainable and inclusive health systems in Africa. If you do not understand AI, if you think AI is a myth or some form of wrong connotation or spiritual wrong, at least learn something or unlearn something. 0709602592. Good morning, Dr. Rose.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me at UBC.
All right, let's start with what the meaning of AI in health really means.
Artificial intelligence in healthcare literally means how can we utilize computer as a machine to analyze, to be able to analyze huge and complex medical data sets and make sense out of them and support ways in which medical routines are performed. An example in case is that if we really are looking at diagnosis for some of the most complex diseases such as cancers, we know that especially in Africa we have few pathologists who can be able to reach remote parts of the country to support the diagnosis of such diseases. How is artificial intelligence coming in to support or bridge a gap, especially in some of those scenarios? We are at the Makerere Artificial Intelligence Health Lab training computer algorithms to be able to learn characterizations of diseases so that it can support disease diagnosis. Not only can artificial intelligence support in ways of diagnosis, but it can help in the entire workflow of the healthcare system. We have seen it supporting treatments where we are now seeing scenarios of personalizing medication. For example, a medication of malaria that works for Rose may not necessarily work for you. So artificial intelligence looks into the complex data sets and brings them together to make insights out of that, at the end of the day augmenting the medical workflows, and at the end of the day we're really seeing impact in improved healthcare outcomes.
Right. How exactly would you convince someone on AI and in the health sector, given that it directly impacts someone's health? How exactly would you convince them?
When I come back to our setting in Africa, whereby if you have diseases, for example, such as cancer, in Uganda we know that the few centers that we have to diagnose diseases such as cancer is that patients have to travel all the way from wherever they are coming from to go to the Uganda Cancer Institute. So by the time they get a diagnosis, that means either the disease has gone into dire situations, or by the time they receive a diagnosis, probably they have been misdiagnosed through other avenues. So how does artificial intelligence, how can I convince people to believe in the impact of artificial intelligence? Is that the services that you'd rather have to move physically from wherever you are to go to the Uganda Cancer Institute can reach you at your points of care, at the different places where you are, through the telehealth platforms that are being developed, whereby even remotely where the medical practitioner is, this information can reach them. For example, if I can't even be able to access a medical practitioner, we saw scenarios, especially around the COVID time. You realize we had, we had scenarios where people were not allowed to move. But then we had tools that would allow face-to-face interactions through the applications, and patients would actually get support through these applications. You don't necessarily need to see a doctor, but these applications, for example, that are powered by generative artificial intelligence, can support quick information to the patients in ways that, rather than wasting a lot of time, what would take them to go to a healthy care facility to receive some of these services, they are able to get them wherever they are. This also relieves the burden that has been sitting on the shoulders of practitioners, where they have been seeing so many patients in a day. Literally, some of these that are powered through artificial intelligence are able to slash down the time they are going to spend either doing a diagnosis or recommending a treatment or giving a recommendation on what the patients should do. And sometimes we've also seen scenarios where government is able to take decisions that are informed in real time, rather than waiting for months until when they can be able to gain insights from the paper records, for example, to be able to take a decision on what should be done.
Interesting. And now that you talk about governments, let's look at matters policy, ethics, and governance. What pointers is the conference that you're planning to address in line with that, but also what was addressed in the very first conference in line with policy, ethics, and governance?
One of the hindering aspects that we've seen, especially in adopting emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence that are new, is that we don't yet have standing policies or guidelines or frameworks that can guide the integration of some of these policies, of some of these tools into, for example, the healthcare system. So we want to have a deep conversation on how we can bring different policy makers in one room, together with the practitioners, together with the funders, together with the developers, so that we forge a way on how we can actually build standing policies and guidelines that will see that we get the impact out of these solutions. The other thing is that mostly the developers have been developing applications in silos, but again, the governments or policy makers have also been making policies in silos. So can we have an engagement where all of us are brought together in one room, discussing things that can actually propel for us to see the impact of the artificial intelligence tools within the healthcare systems, but also contextualizing it within the African setting. A key highlight of what is actually different from what happened in the previous is that this time round we're not just making it African, but we're having a south to south discussion where we're bringing in other collaborators, for example, from Nepal, to build that conversation so that we can be able to empower low-resourced settings to also benefit from the impact of artificial intelligence, so that we have this conversation depending not just on the African continent, but again, getting it down to the global south, so that we can all benefit and learn from each other. And through these engagements, I believe that we can create unified and actionable policies that will support the integration and adoption of artificial intelligence in healthcare systems, so that we can see the impact to providing better patient outcomes in our societies.
Very pertinent at that. Now you are watching Good Morning Uganda, and we are talking about AI. Now there is a forthcoming, which will be the second of its kind, second annual AI in Health conference. The theme in particular for this one is setting AI for sustainable and inclusive health systems in Africa. Dr. Rose Nakasi, she is a lecturer at the College of Computing and also the head of the MOOC AI Health Club, and she's also the co-chair of this particular conference. She's having this conversation with us. If you do not understand things about AI, if you have questions and doubts about AI, especially in regards to your job as a doctor, 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should text to and speak with us. Now, Doctor, let's look at this being the second conference. When was the first held and what were the outcomes of that conference?
The first AI in Health Africa conference was held on the 28th November 2024, that was last year. And we're just beginning a conversation to see how Africa can also shape conversations around the utilization of artificial intelligence within our healthcare systems. The thing about the conference is that we wanted to empower ourselves as Africans, not just to be consumers of artificial intelligence tools, but to be producers of such systems, so that we can actually, because we are the ones who better understand our context, how can we come together, build systems that are contextual to our environments and that are going to be impactful within our environment. And that was the key highlight of the first inaugural conference. The highlight was that there was a yearning, we saw a yearning of different organizations, a yearning of different Africans, really very ready to extend these conversations, to collaborate, to co-design, so that we come up with solutions that are going to be helpful in our healthcare environments. Now, we built on that momentum. That yearning still exists. We want to deepen conversations. We want to deepen discussions around how is it going to help us? How are we actually not just going to talk about artificial intelligence, but how are we going to integrate artificial intelligence to see the impact of it in the healthcare systems? And that is why we want this conversation at the second AI in Health Africa conference to bring different developers, to bring different countries, to bring different healthcare practitioners in one room, so that we forge a way as Africans to derive a narrative on the African continent to say, okay, we are a unique context within our different complexities in terms of linguistics, in terms of culture, in terms of, you know, everything African. How can we organize ourselves as Africa to drive these conversations at the end of the day, to forge a way on how we can actually also benefit and not just see artificial intelligence pass us by, but to see how we can become producers, how we can become entrepreneurs that can see to it that we impact the healthcare systems in our communities.
Very profound. That brings me to ask, given that the theme is setting AI for sustainable and inclusive health systems in Africa, now in the context of Africa, please help define what sustainable means and inclusive means, and of course how AI is expected to feed into these goals.
So in terms of how we can only see the impact of artificial intelligence if we have built trust, if we have known where this artificial intelligence solution is going to be deployed, and what are our target beneficiaries. And that is now the African context. So in terms of sustainability in the African setting, we are unique. We are saying that we already have even indigenous knowledge within the African setting. We have African, you know, healers. We have African birth attendants. We have African ways in which people communicate to patients. So how can we leverage on the already existing Africanicity, and how can that context also be able to utilize artificial intelligence or benefit from it? So that is the narrative that we want to look at. So we're not just looking at the complexity, we're not just looking at just the technicality of how artificial intelligence is, but the core bit of it behind this conference is how sustainable is it going to be within our setting. And for us, we're looking at that in terms of how is it going to improve efficiency. For example, if an African birth attendant has been doing work the way they have been doing it, how can AI be able to augment those efforts? We are looking at it in reducing timelines. If, for example, a medical doctor has been taking 30 minutes or close to an hour to diagnose a disease such as malaria, how can artificial intelligence augment his efforts so that where he has been taking more than 1 hour, it's able to slash it to literally seconds. So we're looking at sustainability in ways of how artificial intelligence is going to be integrated within the existing healthcare systems in the African context, and how that is going to augment the work they are doing. In Africa, you see, in Uganda, literally, I don't know how many languages that we have. For example, if there is a patient in the central, we're literally looking at languages such as Luganda. In the north, you look at a patient who literally doesn't know Luganda and will wish to have his medical results presented to them in Acholi, for example.
Yes.
So how
actually
can we...
64 languages.
64 languages.
Uganda,
Thank you for that clarity.
Can imagine how many languages AI could be able to help interpret to locals.
Exactly.
In regards to the health sector.
So the conversation is going to be for us to sustain that, not killing the Africanicity that we have. How can we utilize again the technology to be able to support and actually empower the locals within the African setting to be able to benefit, but also to have it impactful in whichever way. We are looking at development of tools that are able to communicate to patients in their local dialects, okay, without enforcing or without forcing a given dialect on them, that you should actually get results only in English.
Yes.
That kills our Africanicity. So the whole gist about sustainability and inclusivity is how can we be able to integrate the tools within the African setting, using the African data sets, for example, to build these tools. And we hope that that will reduce a lot of bias in some of the tools that are being developed, because if they are developed by Africans using the African data sets, people who know the context, we believe that those will be sustainable and at the end of the day inclusive at the end of the day.
Right, thank you very much. Dr. Rose Nakasi is the one I'm having this conversation with alongside you, and we're looking at matters AI. Well, the second annual AI in Health Africa conference is up and coming, and the theme this year is setting AI for sustainable and inclusive health systems. Now, she's really educated us on a lot. 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should engage and be a part of this conversation. But if you're just joining in and you're wondering who is she to speak into this particular topic, well, she has all the authority, because I mean, she's a lecturer at the College of Computing at Makerere, but she's also the head of the MOOC AI Health Club, as well as the co-chair of this particular conference. So she has the authority. And to get into some of your comments, good morning, Julie. My question is, haven't these people considered the unemployment cases they are bound to build? Because we have people studying for these specific professions that are going to be given rather to AI. Secondly, isn't research going to be limited amongst our young generation, which could yet advance their brains rather than go with what is automatic for dependence? Third, I am consciously awaiting on the systems that are going to be used to sensitize even the people in the local areas about AI, if even other departments are a bit challenged with it. This is Kenneth Bwayo from Chisubi. God bless you indeed. Let's first answer. Kenneth had 3 questions there, and one was if AI is being introduced and pushed for, are you considering unemployment? The unemployment cases are bound to arise, given that AI will be taking over people's responsibilities in these professions, and in particular now to health.
Particularly to health. I really want to look at the impact of artificial intelligence, not specifically in health,
right,
but across different domains. And I wish to look at it as decision support tool that is going to empower and augment the efforts of the experts, whichever they are. I mean, we are looking at artificial intelligence, for example, in health, where you have few pathologists currently, and if it's to take us, if we to ask ourselves how many years is it going to take us to train pathologists that are going to support the entire country? Literally, we're looking at that taking us so many years. But if we have the few, how can we leverage technology to support the workflows of the few that we have? Even if we are looking at scenarios where we, for example, looking at secretaries, where it has been taking you long to listen in and then jot down, can we be able to have a tool behind taking these notes for you so that where it has been taking you long, I mean, it's slashing down that time. And we have had so many fears from the different experts that we have interfaced with in the field. And one of the key challenges has actually been, isn't artificial intelligence going to replace us? I've always wanted to have a conversation where I'm looking at artificial intelligence as a decision support tool rather than a replacement tool. And that's why, especially in the healthcare system, we want to look at artificial intelligence as a support tool whereby the confirmation of whatever that is received through the AI tool has to be confirmed by an expert in the loop. And I think this should apply almost everywhere. We have seen scenarios where someone just downloads something because it has been generated by AI and then dumps it there.
Copy and paste.
Copy and paste. But can we have a human in the loop who is able to actually support, to look through whatever has been jotted down through these tools so that we are able to disseminate the right information? So I usually want not to have the fears of technology, but rather to see what we can benefit out of it and how it can actually support the different workflows in our different work domains.
All right. Secondly, isn't research going to be limited amongst our young generation, which could yet advance their brains rather than go with what is automatic for dependence?
Yes. We are presented with a new emerging technology, which is artificial intelligence that can do literally everything research that you just, even actually mathematical research, even programming research, you just type in and I say, I want a code that can generate this, and it will do that for you. Indeed, technology is a disrupting invasion. We are yet to see how far it is going to go. But one of the things, and I think in Makerere, one of the conversations we are going to see, we're going to listen to, is how institutions are monitoring the utilization of artificial intelligence by students. I mean, there should be guidelines. Institutions should come up with guidelines to know to what extent students or researchers are able to use artificial intelligence. In some researchers, they have actually put tight guidelines whereby if you produce anything automatically generated by AI entirely without your personal input, there is already tools that are monitoring all that process. And the idea is, even in Africa, can we be able to have conversations on how to limit, to leave a space where human interventions are sensed and monitored so that we don't kill that effort of having children or students be able to internalize knowledge and apply it in the right way rather than leaving it entirely to artificial intelligence. We know that this is still an emerging technology with a few guidelines, but through these conversations we believe that such will be at the end of that. We shall come up with solutions to provide guidelines on the utilization of AI.
And it's at conferences such as this where stakeholders are in one room to discuss these conclusions. Third, I am cautiously waiting on the systems that are going to be used to sensitize even the people in the local areas about AI, if even other departments are still challenged with it? How would you convince Kenneth that AI is going to be trained or taught to those in the locals if it's still challenging those in urban departments?
Yeah, the beauty about artificial intelligence is actually you can use artificial intelligence to teach the impact of artificial intelligence. The idea is through artificial intelligence, we are able to make translations. We are able to have speech to text, speech to voice, in a way that we really want to communicate with the locals. We have a company in Uganda which is Sunbird AI, and these are developing localized natural language processing tools that are trained on the Ugandan dataset to make these translations of whichever language to now more than 31 languages in Uganda. The effort is just starting, but we see a future out there that we are even able to have sensitization of whichever information that we want to push out there to the locals in their local languages, as opposed to some of the technologies that we've had before, which have all been actually tailored to either English or international languages.
Right.
We're now seeing an era where actually artificial intelligence is even supporting to revive some of the almost distinct languages that were almost at the verge, you know, of getting off the map. And through profiling and through natural language processing, we are seeing that possibility not just outside, but even in Africa, we are seeing that come to pass.
Right. This is Joseph Chizito Setema, who says, can AI detect malaria? That's the question.
Can AI detect malaria? Yes, AI can detect malaria. And I think he has spoke to the research that we are currently undertaking at Makerere University through the Makerere Artificial Intelligence Health Lab, where we are supporting the diagnosis of malaria. The idea is we're leveraging on already existing equipment, for example, the smartphones and the microscopes, to be able to support the detection of malaria diagnosis. We don't just detect malaria, we even go deeper to actually tell how much of the infection does someone have. What species caused this case of malaria? So that once a medical practitioner is going to give the final recommendation of either a treatment or what the patient should do, it all comes in well informed. So we're looking at artificial intelligence because it has the capability of understanding patterns, be it of disease parasites, be it of any given disease condition. It can be able to understand that and then be able to make predictions and detections.
Right. Good morning, studio. How can one be able to get rid of malaria that has reached the brain? And how can I be able to get that new technology? This is Herbert from Serere. I don't know how you could speak into this, but yes, he says, how can one be able to get rid of malaria that has reached the brain? And then how can I be able to get that new technology?
So how can one be able to get rid of malaria? That has one of the key researches that we're doing under the malaria project is that we're looking at characterizing malaria at whichever level it is. So we're not just looking at detection, but we are staging it from the different stages. Even when it's still at the spread stage of the gametocytes, we are looking at characterizing it before it actually turns into malaria that we see. Right. So we also characterize it at the level of parasitemia, and I think that's what he's talking about. At what level of the infection is the case of malaria? So we're also looking at profiling malaria at that level of parasitemia. We're also looking at it at the level of the species identification, like I'd hinted before. So yes, at whichever level of infection, the application is able to provide inference for that. How is the app, how are we developing the app? And I think that's what he means. So we're developing both smartphone-based applications, and this is literally both an offline and an online application that we're calling Ocular AI app. The reason why we're doing it both online and offline is again to provide the African context, coming from the inference that in Africa we have challenges within our digital infrastructure. So even in scenarios where we don't have internet connectivity, artificial intelligence through our smartphone based application Ocular, we can be able to support that. Then we also have telehealth platforms whereby a medical practitioner, wherever they are, can be able to look at the outcomes of the artificial intelligence applications and then give a confirmation or a recommendation wherever they are. And that's a web-based telehealth platform.
Actually, I was about to ask you, because statistics show as of January 2025 that Ugandans, about 14.2 million, access or use the internet service out of 50 million Ugandans. And one would wonder how exactly the whole conversation of AI
can work out.
Can work out in a population that is shockingly, in Kampala here you have a smartphone around, you can WhatsApp, you can TikTok, and you think everyone in Uganda uses the internet, but 14.2 million Ugandans use the internet. Only out of 50, and this is as of January 2025. How exactly, and I believe it will be discussed at the conference maybe, but what are some of those things that will be shared, or pointers that will be shared in making sure that AI is impacting positively for the better, even for Ugandans who are not using AI at all or using the internet at all?
So the key highlight at the conversations that we're going to have at the conference is advocating for integrating artificial intelligence tools, especially within the already existing healthcare systems. But also leveraging the unique infrastructure that is presented within the African setting. For example, the scenario that you've provided where we only 14.2. So with thinking of, if we are to appreciate artificial intelligence within that kind of context, then whatever tools we might be thinking about developing should be tools that are going to sit well within such a context. If you are thinking about only having internet-driven solutions, then you're going to miss out the bigger population. For example, initially, our tool for malaria diagnosis was purely online. You had to submit an image and then make inference through a connection with the internet. But currently, what we've realized through the surveys that we did countrywide is that some parts you'll actually go to and they don't have internet connectivity at all. So that gave us a thought that for us to leverage artificial intelligence and make it impactful in such a scenario, one, you have to utilize, you have to come up with tools that do not necessarily need internet connectivity to work. If you're looking at smartphones, for example, you need to come up with solutions that are going to provide cheap solutions at the end of the day. For example, if you look at an iPhone 17 currently, if you to do a survey how many people can afford that in Uganda, if you to take Uganda as a sample African context, you would find that literally not even more than 5%. So can we think about tools that are going to sit on a smartphone that even in the remote parts of the country, can such healthcare systems afford a particular tool, such a smartphone? So we're thinking about developing tools that can sit even on local smartphones, but can provide impact in that context. So whatever we're thinking about in the healthcare system, that has to be sustainable, has to be contextual, not just in terms of efficiency, but in terms of cost, in terms of timelines, in terms of the infrastructure. So we're going to look at a very holistic picture in the African context, not just looking at the technicalities or the technical impact of artificial intelligence.
Right. Now, Businje Archangel comes through. He is watching us from Kasese, and he says, "Hi, presenter. What is AI in full?" Please.
What is AI?
What is AI in full?
What is AI in full? AI in full is artificial intelligence. And literally what this means is that, like you hear the word intelligence, we are literally imitating or mimicking the way the human brain works and bringing it right into the computer. And how we are going to do that is that we are training computer models to learn different patterns of different things that we want it to learn, so that after gaining that knowledge, it is able now to make a prediction on whichever data that you provide it with. So it is a way of us actually making the computer artificially intelligent, doing things that a human brain can do, but in a computer system.
And Bosinje, I hope you have been answered, and I hope it's clear and you understand it as clearly as possible. Now, let's get into the detail of the conference. Who is invited and what type of conference is it?
The second AI in Health Africa conference with the theme this year on scaling AI for sustainable and inclusive health systems in Africa is organized by mainly three institutions. That is the Makerere University, the Makerere Artificial Intelligence Health Lab, the Infectious Disease Institute, and NAMNI, that is from the Health AI for All Network. And this provides a south-to-south collaboration whereby we're bringing different stakeholders across Africa with vested interest in artificial intelligence in Africa. And this is going to not just look at experts in artificial intelligence and health, but it is looking at every kind of ecosystem that speaks to artificial intelligence in healthcare system. And therefore, this includes the experts themselves in the both domains, the government officials from different parts of Africa and the global south. We're looking at developers. We are looking at the community as a whole, because we are tailoring these applications to the needs of the community. We are looking at developers, funders, you know, experts in the different domains in health, and all of them coming together so that we forge a way to see how we can leverage artificial intelligence, build an environment where it can thrive, so that we can see the impacts of it in Africa.
Right. What type of event shall it be? Shall it be online? Shall it be physical, in person? Shall it be both?
So we're going to have both, both physical and a hybrid option. So we shall have participants who may not be able to join us physically at the Makerere University, that is at the main hall, between 6th to 7th of November this year, with an online option.
Right.
Yeah.
And is there anything we're paying to access the conference?
Yes, we had payment, a reasonable payment of $100 to support the activity.
Right. Thank you very much. Now, reading your comments as we begin to close this conversation. Good morning, UBC. We are really appreciating this growing technology. However, some people are still left behind, especially in rural areas. My argument is that you people still need to involve telecom companies, because data is also becoming a problem hindering such technologies. This is Amos Kamwenge watching live. And hi, I'm Baluku Nelson from Kasese. I am following you. Thank you so much, Nelson. And to every viewer that has contributed to the show, the conversation comes to the end. But AI is something that is part of us and it's not going away. So we might as well find all the best ways to use it to the best and for the best of our country, as opposed to destroying our country. Use it to add value to our country. By the way, before we even leave, something I've just remembered. I've been thinking about the Ministry of Health, and what advice would you give to the Ministry of Health in regards to embracing AI in its operations to serve Uganda?
Thank you very much. And the good thing is that we have already started conversations with the Minister of Health.
Yes.
One of the key things that the Minister of Health is vested to is if this emerging technology is really impactful in the healthcare systems, how are we going to tailor it for Uganda? Now, that question of how it will depend on what guidelines are there for us to have this integration seamlessly within the existing healthcare systems that the Ministry of Health mans. So the conversations on frameworks, the conversations on policies to allow this integration are already ongoing, and I'm glad that the Minister of Health is also going to be speaking more to this at the conference.
All right. That is Dr. Rose Nakasi. She is a lecturer at the College of Computing, and she is the head of the MOOC AI Health Club, as well as the co-chair of this particular conference. It's the second annual AI in Health Africa conference, and the theme is setting AI for sustainable and inclusive health systems in Africa. Will be happening on the 6th to 7th November this particular month, and just in a few days. That's it from me. Now just imagine an AI bot presenting Good Morning Uganda to you, but at least don't worry, up next is a human being, not an AI bot, presenting GMU Sports with Ruben. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day, don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you